Tes, Hemshech Tov Reishayim Beis, Dibur HaMaskil Lech Lecho, Chelik Aleph, Omid Tov Mem Ches. So we saw that the difference between the Keteris in the Heichal and the Keteris which was brought into the Kodesh HaKadoshim by the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippurim. I think we began that part, right? Right. And we saw the din in the Gemara, and we brought down from the Yidra Rabbah that the two Nekvei HaChoitem, Eitzel HaAdam, that they are the Gilu, the Amshocher, of Chayin and what the Zohar calls Chayin Dechayin. And we saw that those were two madrigas in Hamshocha Atzmiyas. One was the Indian of the Gilui of Yerida Derech HaChoitem HaYomini of Oyer Yosha Sheba Nefesh or Sheba Atzmiyas, and that's the Indian of Oyer Choizer. I'm sorry, of Oyer Yosha and Gilui HaChayo. And then we saw that Nekev HaSmoli was Chayin the Chayin. Even though the Rebbe brought an opinion that it was written by Mekemis Acherim Bahofoko, but that's the day Amuva B'Chsidus B'Reva Mekemis. And the Nekev HaSmoli, that's the Indian of Yechida Shebenefesh, the Gilui Derech Nekev HaSmoli. And from that we see that both Madregas in Makifim Atzmiyim of the Nefesh, both of them are Mishkala v'yoyra derech choit the Indian of the Nekvei HaChoitem, Chaya mitzad Yamin and Yechida mitzad Shmol. And then we brought down the Gemara that we see that the Iker Hashvas HaChayas, the Adam is Davke HaChoitem. And we brought from the Sugya in Masechta Yoma of Pikuach Nefesh, where it brings about the Machlekes of Al Chaponim. The Psach of the Gemara is that if somebody is nofal alav mapoilas, in other words, these stones have fallen on him, that's a malacha of Shabbos to be mefakeach as agal, to take all the stones away on Shabbos. But nonetheless, where there's a chashash that he's still alive, then we have to be mefakeach, even if it's only a sofik. However, if we're able to actually get to his body and test if he's alive, even though we haven't yet taken the stones off from him and actually released him from his captivity in the stones, then the Gemara says if it's milmata lamaila, if we're going from the bara part of his body upwards, and we find the lave, and we find it in the lave there's no sign of any chayas, then we're still mechuyev to try and push further under the stones or upwards to the nose. We have to try and test if we can see if there's anything, any air or breathing in the nose. And if there is, then we're still mechuyev al pidin to be mefakert gal, even though in the lave there's no sign of any chayas anymore. Up in the af there is. And then the Gemara says if we come maila lamata, if we have only his head and we go downwards and we find there's no chayas in the nose, then we're not mechuyev to go any further. In other words, the ikar Gilui at the Chayas is be ape davke, says the Gemara, davke in the other nose. I think that's about where we were holding. We brought down from the Gemara in Sekta Yuma and Pirush Rashi, and then we went on to say that Kamoi, I think about the third line down on Omid Tov Mem Tes. Yeah, is that what we were holding approximately, or did we go further? No takers. The Kamoi Shapeh Hu Shar Haleiv. וזהו שהדיבור הוא מהפה שבו מהבל הלב. Just like we find that the mouth is the shar of the lave, it's the gateway to the heart, that the Indian of dibur, mensch gives out b'diburei k'muvur b'tanya v'oed mekaymes, he gives out the hevel halev. In other words, the hot breath that goes out in dibur. Well, that's from the Hevel Halev, Kamavur Bariches, Bechsidus and all over there in Tanya, that the voice which comes from the elements the Yesedis of Eish and Mayim and Ruach, Omar. Yeah, but that's a remez of the Inyan Adibur in the Leiv and in the Peh, or they unite with the Oisias. What the Oisias are the Inyan from Doimein, or that's the Inyan from Offer Shebenefesh, and they unite together to form the Inyan of speech. In other words, that the Pnimis of the speech, or that is the Inyan from Hevel HaLeiv. And so that's Miskala Alidei HaPeh, which means that the Ikar gateway of the Leiv is the Peh. Kamoikein Achoitim Hu Shara HaMoichin. At Kilu, through the Choitim, through the nostril, you can get into the Moichin. Meaning that the Moyach reveals itself through the breathing of the Choitim. Yeah, into the Avei HaOlam comes out the breathing through the nostril, and that's Gilui of the Moichin. So we need to understand what do we mean by saying it's Gilui HaMoichin. What's the biur b'zeh that Davki through the Choitim that comes the Gilui of the Moich. V'yadua the Klolos Chayes HaNefesh hu ba'Moich sheberoish. V'al kein Ikar Chiyusa be'apei hu. That's what the Gemara says over there. In Masechta Yoma, that the Ikar Chiyusa is Davki in the nostrils, in the nose. Therefore, if we tested there and there's no sign of any Chayas, then we just assume that he's not alive, and we're not allowed to. It's forbidden to be Mefaker Tegal. So the Rebbe says that the Ikar Klolos HaChayas Benefesh is in the Moya. Well, that's what the Alter Rebbe is Mavaya. In Tanya, that in Perik Nun Aleph, that the Ikar Gilui, the Klolos HaChayas, this is in the Moyach Sheberosh. Now we're going to see here that not only the Klolos HaChayas beneged to the Hamshoches HaChayas B'Kol HaEvorim, Yishad to the Moyach, but we're going to see that even the Pnimis V'Atzmius of the Chayas is also shaykh in the Moyach, Tavke. Which that will be a little bit, in other words, we're being moisif here, an extra small, well not small, an extra inyan or dimension in the inyan. Achai is more than what's mavua over there. Because over there is mavaya the inyan for Naran, B'ikar. And therefore, Shulch Neshoma, in Perik Non Aleph, and over there we talk about, like, generally speaking, the inyan from Klal El Prat, the Klolos HaNaran and the Atzmius of Naran find themselves in the Moyach Sheberosh, or even from Kloliyas, and then the Yeradu Misparet, the Mefaret is Atzmom, or the Kam B'der Prat, in the Hamshocha, from that inyan how it is in the Moyach to the Eivri HaGu. Well, here we're talking that not only that, but even on a higher level, we're going to see that the Atzmius HaChayas is Shoira Al Chaponim in the Moichin. And I use the word Shoira because it's not really Bislabshas. We're going to see not really a Inyan Slabshas. And even that Inyan in Tanya, there's also Mamish Slabshas in the Moyach, because what is Slabish, Mamish in the Moyach, the Koyach HaSeichel Grade, that's the Inyan from Seichel. And what he talks about over there, the Klolos Kol HaChayas, is also Bahashrua. And so that's what we're talking here, how the Moyach is Behemoth a medium, and maybe we could even say a Kli, not B'derech Yislabshus, upon him it's a medium, and a min Eiver Azah, was Darachoi, is Miskala the Atzmius HaChayas. V'hina yiseh masha achoitem mushar hamoichin, hainu b'chinas atzmius hamoichin. Here we see right away that we're not talking just about the Gilui HaNaran. We're talking about the pnimius v'atzmius of the Moyach. Shaharei adibur hu gam kein shar hamoichin, yesh kol hisgala seichel hu al yedei adibur. Rak shezo chitzenius ha-seichel, ook je door de Seichel Goloi Umechitzenius HaChochma. In Kain, Mashach, I'm sorry, is a Veine Mashach Dibur is also Shara Moichin. Now we just said that Dibur be Ikar was Shayach Alalei. So what do we mean by saying that Dibur is also Shar HaMoichin. So he said that's the Indian from Seichel, and in Seichel Gufa, Seichel Golui, his Galus Seichel, Ahu Alidei Adibur. In other words, that the mensch is Bicholtai when he's got a Seichel, a moving etzloi, b'moicha that he can give it out in Dibur, albeit it's only a infant Seichel Matzumtzum which can actually come into the Dibur. It's not the Atzmius in the Seichel. And in that Gufa we have to say that Klolas Inyan HaSeichel which comes into Dibur is the Inyan from Seichel Golui, Mamish. Not the Pinimis Ve'atzmius of Seichel is in Chochma. Or the Afila in the Madregas Lienas Yeser in Bina. No, that's the Seichel Golui Mamish. So he's in that Gufa, or what comes into the Dibur is B'derech Tzimtzum, Kiyadua. That means even when he wants to talk out a Indian, he says, look, I can't get everything out in this speech. I can't say it all. It's difficult to say everything I'm thinking of. And noch solche Inyanim that we find. And that's because what is yored from the Moichin, a feel in Seichel HaGolui, a feel in Seichel HaMishkala, into Dibur is a Chitzenius Bilvat. It's not the Amitis Oimaka Seichel, when it's a feel not the Seichel HaMishkala Mamish, but it's B'derech HaOra V'Tzimtzum. Raksha says, Rebbe Shezeu Chitzenius HaSeichel. It's in the Indian from Seichel Gufi, only a Ha'ora Chitzenius, Ukiyadu, the Seichel Golui, who mi Chitzenius HaChochma. The Seichel Golui is only from the Chitzenius of the Mokir of Seichel, which is Chochma. And it was well known that the in Chochma Gufi you got, as well known, the two Lashenas Chochma is Koyach Ma, and the Chelik Elyon in Chochma is Ma. But that's in the Bittul of Chochma, and the Aliyah of Chochma Klapei HaKeser. And therefore you got the Indian of Bittul Atzmi in Chochma, and you got the Indian from Riyah de Chochma, and noch solche Inyanim in Chochma. However, the Koyach of Chochma, the Chelik HaKoyach Sheba Chochma, or that's the Yerida into the, or eventually into Bina. In other words, that's the Yerida into the Koyach HaGluim. And in that Gufa, there's Pnimius v'Chitzenius. In other words, there's Chitzenius HaSeichel HaGolui, and there's Pnimius HaSeichel HaGolui. So he says that aspect of the Seichel HaGolui, which comes into the Indian from Dibur, is only an Indian from Chitzenius, and Beklal, that's an Indian from Chitzenius, Legabe the Mokir of Seichel, which is Chochma. Because the whole Indian of the Tzad Koyach Sheba Chochma is the Chitzenius of Chochma. So what reaches Dibur is only a Indian from the whole Chitzenius Bilvat. Ve'im kein, ma she'achoitem hu shar HaMoichin, hainu b'chinas atzmius HaMoichin. In other words, that the cheshbon is possible. Since we see that Beklali made the Nakuda, or the Yisod, that the Dibur is Beklal connected with Leiv, and Leiv is only the Indian from Chitzenius HaNefesh Lafi Era. Ve'ilo the Indian from the Choitem is shared to the Indian from Moichin. So now we're saying that in that Gufa there can be a certain gilui of Moichin Afilu Alidei Alev into Dibur, but that's only the Indian from Chitzenius Bilvat. Imkein, what we said that the Indian from the Choitem is the Shar HaMoichin, then we have to say that means Moichin Atzmius HaMoichin, the Etzem Madrega of Moichin Beli the Amshocha Chitzenius, which is Nimshach Aleph in the Seichel HaGolui, and based into Dibur. So what does it mean that it's the Indian from Atzmius HaMoichin? Ukenoida Aefresh Bein Hashpoas HaSeichel Lashpoas HaTipo. It's a door Pele. When we say the Indian from Atzmius HaMoichin, then we mean a figure Ad Madrega Kazu. And we're going to see that the Choitem has got a shaykh as a filo of Madrega Kazu. That it's well known the difference between Ashpoas HaSeichel and Ashpoas HaTipo. The Ashpoas HaSeichel hu rak ha'ora levad. ובעטיפו נמשך עצמוס המויכין ממש להוליד בדוימה לוי. But Ashpos Atipa means the Tipas Hazera, which is brought down in Kama Makemis B'chsila, so that's Nimshach Mi'amoyach. And when Tanya Perik Beis, the Alter Rebbe is Masber Baricha, so the Tipa is Nimshach Mi'amoyach. So Chassidus is Masber that there's a tremendous difference between how Moichin are Amochet to Seichel or to how Moichin are Amochet to the Tipa. In other words, that we see that when you give over Seichel, then you don't make any new Matzias. All you do is you add to the Koyachas HaMoichin, which are by the Makabel. And there's a famous statement, has it, that's brought down in many Jerusalem, a cop coming nicht a roof stone. You can't put a head on somebody. In other words, that if he has a head, he's got an ability to be Teifa Seichel and Maven Seichel, then you can give him extra Seichel. Yeah? You can be Mashpia him Seichel, or you don't really alter him. If he's got Seichel, then he understands Seichel. If he doesn't have Seichel, then he won't understand the Seichel, and you won't make him different by giving him the Seichel, because the Ashpoas Seichel is only a Dover Chitoni. It's a Nish Mishana, the Etzem Mahus of the Makabel. And that doesn't mean that all sorts of Sikhlim can be very valuable to him. They can have an influence on his life. But they're not Mishana, the Etzem Mahus of the Mensch. Schenken the Inne von Tippes Zera Nimshach Mipnimis Atzius Hamoyach. We see that has the ability not only to be moilid, but that brings about a whole new Matthias, but moilid B'doi Meloid, or some mamish Ashpoa Atzmis from him. He gives mamish, as it were, a chelik me etzem mahusay into the vlad hanoilid mimeno. Amel Kunto is that the difference clearly between Chitzonius Hamoichin and Pnimis or Atzmius Hamoichin is that Chitzonius Hamoichin, albeit they give off a very high koil, which is Seichel, Yesh b'zahabi mailas, v'habi inyonim nailim v'gavoyim, but so they're not mamish boine a new mahus. If the man says already a mahus sickly, then he'll benefit from the meaning of Seichel. Mashenken, the inner van a Tipa makes a whole new Metzias Mitzadatzmei. And in that Gufa, it's Bedima El HaOdem that he gave it, it's Mamish Kilo, Atzmi Shaloi, and like the famous Loshen, Yofik Koyach HaBen Mikoyach HaAv, but that's got two mashmoyas in. One mashmoyas is Yofik Koyach HaBen Mikoyach HaAv, that the Koyach of the son can even have a mile in it over the inning of the Av. Yeah, Kamavur. And then there's another taich, Yofik Koyach HaBen, that's also Mikoyach I feel that what seems to be a Yisrael and a Mila in the Ben compared to the father. Yeah, Yofik Koyach HaBen, that's also Mikoyach that also comes also from the father. Because when the Ivy can design, if he's Yofik Koyach HaBen, then he's more than the father. He's got more seichel and more inyonim moichin than what the father does. If he comes to us, so the answer is that Dafki, the Hashpoas Atipa, being as it is mi'atzmius hamoichin, or that's from the inyonim ha-bligvu shel hamayla mi-inyonim ha-gluim etzel the father. If I'm a mamish in the etzem, there can be certainly no, but they never come to day kiloi. But when it goes over in the tip, it could be that they are miskala. And Mamera comes to say that that's all from the father. I feel that the Yofik Koyach HaBen is Mikoyach HaAv, the father, that's Ashpor Mamish Atzmiyas. As in the Etzem, it's Kilo Loi Yadur Lanu, what the father really had. Because Me'ezet Talmim, it never came out of the Etzem. It's a kind of Niskala in the Inyonim HaGluim or the Inyonim HaKteinim. But the day the Ashpoas Atipa, where the Shion Niskala. And that we see that the Indian of the Tipo is an Indian Achmi Mamish Hamshocha Achmius of the Moichin. So what we're going to time here is that the Gili of the Choitem Baklau is al derech zeh, and the Gili of the Nekev HaSmoli, but that's Indian Echida, is Mamish Beduk Melazeh. That it's possible to give out through Kaviochel, through the Choitem, I feel as I'm in Gili, which is Atzmius Adam Mamish. And if we'll see about that as we go along. So therefore he says, the Ashpoas Seichel.
what's the explanation now? What is the connection between?
I can't hear you. You have to talk up.
What is the connection between the Tippa and the Moyach? There's no connection.
So that's another shayla. I mean, this mavur b'kol ha'makim says ein kan machen rein kriegen in dem verwasser das was a state in Tanya. It's written in Tanya Perek Beis Parichas. The whole Perek Beis is a kiboyet out there. Everywhere it's written that the Indian Moyach is dafke from the Amshocha of the tip is dafke from the Moyach. Dvarim I'm a Russian column came is een this man was quite like het column came is Kosovo. I mean it's Kosovo Ribri came so I mean can't come up the column came is for what he does that's I mean Israel la Harry Pazel dus niet ain't kind of more him around krijgen in them yet. So what we're trying to say is that there is I mean Ashpur from the Moichin. It's one of the inyonim that sport Regel is we're going to see here as we go along, and maybe if we just wait a little bit, it'll be maybe easier. I feel to talk about that because we're going to see that inyonim atzmi mamish anim shechalidei dinim from Moichin and Lamaila and also by the other Mamata. I feel kill more than the Makifim. And that'll be Derish Abyss Rabia, so maybe that'll anyway be Mavaya. Yeah, that in you. Okay, so now he says that he alidei adibur, the Ashpas Atipa, the Ashpas Aseichu Hurachaorlevat. Ubi Atipo Nimshach Atzmi Samoichin Mamish, Lahoilid Bedoim Eloi. Kamoichin Uavrish Bein Apervia Choitum. Yeah, that's Bediuk, the same Hefresh between the Amshach Alidei Dibur or through the union of breath Beklal, the even Halev Beklal. The Apehu Kli Leguli B'chinas Chitenius Anefesh, and in a higher level, the union from Dibur is Chitenius HaChochma. Yeah? And why do we keep mentioning Chochma? Because Chochma is the Moki of the Dibur. When we say Chitenius Dibur or Chitenius Seichel, then what we really mean is that Miyamokir, that's only the union for Chitenius. I know if you're in Chochma Gufa, there's a union of Chitenius, but that's what we pointed out before, the union of Koyach Sheba Chochma. In other words, the lower aspect of Chochma, which is Nimshach into Havana Vasol, okay? Well, that comes out in Seichel Hagoloi. Ve'achoitem, hu sha atzmius hamoichin, the shom kishu v'chibo etzam nishoma mamish. Omnom am shochem mishom yesh b'zeh beis madreges ve'ein chayin v'chayin de chayin. So we saw earlier here in the Hemshech, in the Oisius, Akoibin, not very far from where we are now, we saw there was an Indian of etzem iskashrus or etzem chibur anefesh imaguf. And then we saw there was the Indian from Gilui Chayas Anefesh Baguf, Islapshus, that Chayas Afilu in the Moyach, Derech Hashroa, or later Derech Islapshus, and then it goes into the Guf, and then we saw there's the Indian from what you might call Atzmius Chibur Anefesh Imaguf. And that's two madrega, and that was what we saw in the Keteiras. We saw there was a Indian that Korbanis, which is a Indian from Reyach. We're talking about the chili between Korbanis and Keteiras, and we saw that the Korbanis are also Reyach Nechoyach Lashem, and we saw that the Indian from Reyach is a Indian from Makif, a Indian from Atzmias. However, in Reyach Kufa, there's a Indian of Atzmias with Shachal Choponim to the Chiteni, to the Makif HaKorei v'Shaychel HaPnimi. And later we found that even the Keteiras Shebaheichel was also Al Derech there. But we said the difference between the Korbanis and the Keteiras Shebaheichel was that the Korbanis, that was only the Indian from the Makavach Mamish Mishgalev and Nimtze B'Teich HaKoyches HaPnimim. And then we saw that the Indian from Keteiras is Indian from Makif Amiti, but it's still nonetheless Shaychel Indian HaPnimi, the Indian from Rusa de Liba. That's how we had it earlier. So 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 the inifim pnimius ve'atzmius the keteres, and the pnimius ve'atzmius of the makifim, or that's the etzem iskashus of the neshama in the guf, l'mayla mi mekoyres animshochim into the guf. Now the etzem minyan, like we were mavir over there, was also mentioned bekitzer, that the poiskim are mavir, that the nefesh in the guf have absolutely no, when I say the poiskim, it's even brought in halacha, that the nefesh and the guf have absolutely no shaykhs or similarity or tzad doime echad l'asheni klalu or klal b'even shel merchach hakiyotzum sheyochol liyot nefesh v'aguf. Amamila, how does a nefesh v'aguf, how do they get together? V'kumen zayin. So that's what we say, and this word stayed in the poiskim, that we say b'reifa kol baso maflila la'aseis in the Erikot, in the Bilchus Ashiyota, we say Reifei Kol Basar or Mafli la'aseis. Well, it wasn't even for Mafli la'aseis. It's put there in the Poiskim. Mafli la'aseis means the etzem ability, kaviyocho, of the Eibushter to be machaber the neshama mit the guf. The etzem chibur, the etzem possibility that there should be a neshama mechuber mit the guf. So that's called mafli la'aseis. It's a wondrous thing that only he can do. That's the pele. Mitzad etzem elakus, it can be makashe the neshama mit the guf. And mamela, that's a siman of the etzem kaviyocho, yechilas of the atzmas elakus to be machaber neshama mit the guf. All the other inyonim, like we were mavaya in Tanya, where it talks about the chayas Kol Biamoya, which is the union from Naran, that's all Klal Gavi Prat, or Chayes Kloliyas. We're going to see a brief hint at that. Is the union from Chayes, which is Machifes Kol Eivorim. All those inyonim are already after there's been a chibur at the neshama mit the guf. In other words, there's already a hamshocha at the neshama in the guf. Well, then there's different ifanim how it goes. Shlavei Achmi or Ora Yoter until it actually reaches the slabshus in the Evra Guf. Or the etzem chibur that Elakus can be machaber and neshama in a guf. Okay, do mufursim. The famous piyub is there. The neshama doesn't really want to be in the guf. Velavochin for her, it's a tremendous savor and a tremendous yerida when they're going to do it. Even though Sochosov, the neshama wants to do it when she's still l'mayla. How would you say it? In her more optimistic state, the neshama really wants to come down. Once she actually makes it, then she realizes what a tremendously difficult task it is. As is muvur in Chassidus, all of those inyonim are in the giluyim or l'mayla mi'ah giluyim of the neshama, or le'achri, we talk about the etzem himotzus or etzem yeridus on the neshama b'toyer guf. Or we come to the whole yichud and the whole, as you might call chasna melchatchila, we come to neshama in the guf. Or this is the koyach ha'atik, we brought as a moyach da'tikor, with these etzem mishkashas, the atzmas, with the hascholas kol ha'elamas, they're the same thing as the koyach ha'atzmi mamish, that he can be mechaber the neshama mit the guf. It says the Rebbe that we already pointed out before that the Indian the Achmius, a Nefesh Mamish, or that's got to do with the Etzem Chibur of the Neshama mitten go. And he said, V'achoitem, hu sha'ar Achmius ha-moichin, and in the Achmius of the Moichin, what we see there's a Mamish in the Indian Atipur, that's the Indian from Amshocha Achmius Mamish, that's Achmius Kol Ha'odom. Achmius Ha'odom Mamish, Hasham Kishu V'chiba Etzem HaNeshama Mamish. So when we say Achmius HaMoichin, then we're talking about the highest madrega in Moichin, Alidei Ma, the Etzem Kishu the Neshama takes place. And that's already touching on what you brought up before. We'll see there'll even be maybe more about it. We see that the area or the place or the position where the Eibushter functions, that etzem iskashus or the etzem ruchnius haneshama, the etzem matzias of the neshama with the guf, where does that take place? In the moya. That's taki in the in the Inyan HaMoichin. In other words, what is the how do you call it, the medium through which that etzem chibur takes place? Well, that's Dafki the Moyach. Not in any other place, but Dafki in the Inyan HaMoyach. Was he a Dromel thought? Is no mehr kommt euch that Lefize, I saw you throwing looks at him. I thought maybe it was Maval for you. No, not you, Moish. And my mail come to us is, since he's not, from my Talmud, so, I let it get by. Is, when I say he's not from my Talmud, so don't mean anything bad by that. In ieder geval, it comes to us that the etzem chibur, the neshama, the etzem is chabres, das is in the moichin. So this kufa is deirish be, why would the etzem is chabres be dafki in the Inyan HaMoyach? So we'll read another few lines and we'll maybe have a word about that, and then maybe that will also touch on the Inyan that you were referring to. Yeah, he said, Achoita.
Can they explain what's the kesher between the smell and the atzmiut, the sech, and the tipa?
Huh?
He said...
you already asked before.
No, what's the kesher with the smell? With the nose.
With the smell?
Yeah, you say the nose is the shal for the atzmiut, the sech.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the chushareya so far. I mean, we'll get on to it. We spoke about the Inyan from Reah before and the Inyan from Ketoras. And we said that Reah is also mamshik the atzmius hanefesh. When somebody faints, you give him Reah, it brings back the chibur of the etzem haneshama mitagor. Because b'shasa, when a person faints, the different madregas b'zel. Normally, when a person faints, then that's the stalkus of the nefesh altogether. Omnam is that Amshocha Mishom, yesh bezeh beis madregas. Now, where are the beis madregas? In the Amshocha Mishom, in the Gilui. Because if we look carefully in the Zohar over there, then the two Nekvei HaChoitem are connected with the Yerida, Nofik Mishom. What Nofik Mishom means the Gilui of those Inyanim, how they come down and the Miskale La'eza Tzorech or La'eza Inyan B'chaya Odo. Over here we're talking about the Etzem Chibur of the Neshama, or that's the Atzmius HaMoichin, and then we're saying that the Amshocha Mishom, or the Amshocha after the Etzem Mishchabras, Alidei Atzmius HaMoichin, or that can go into Oifani. Hamshocha means Yerida Gilu. That can go either B'derech Chayin or B'derech Chayin de Chayin. In other words, if it goes Derech Chayin, well, that's in from Chayo, then that's already a Hamshocha which is more shire to the Avedis Odom, Winter Koiches Agiluim, as we saw earlier. If it's Nimshach, even from Chayin de Chayin, and that's a Hamshocha. Atzmius mamish, and that's what we'll see as the Inyan Yechida. However, he says, "B'chinas chayin shebenekar vayomini ze b'chinas oyer yoshor." In other words, that's a direct gilui. Beli is seirus atzmius. Now that's a ha'ora from the etzem, and albeit he's a ha'ora atzmius, but he's only a ha'ora which is shot to hamshocha b'derech seidava. Hadroga, like we saw earlier, and therefore he says, v'haina gili klolos ha'chayas ha'nefesh, lahachiyes ha'gu. In other words, here we see the lotion klolius chayas ha'nefesh, lahachiyes ha'gu. And Kamavur, like we hinted at before, v'kama makimis, there's klolos, what the Alter Rebbe talks about over there in Perek Nun Vov, well, that's klal al prat. That's even Naran, and then there's Klolius, Chayas HaNefesh, that's called the Chayas Kloli, well that's a Inyan from Makif L'Gabi De'ivorim, but it's already shy to the Inyan from Chayas, because if there weren't the Chayas Klolis, there wouldn't be the Chayas Proteus, and that's what the mentions be Etzem alive. That's what's shy to the Gemara. But the Gemara said you have to test if he's alive, and that's stuck in the Choyta. So that's even which is Miskale Derech Oyer Yosha, Bederech Hamshocha, and albeit it's a Gilui Makifi, it's Klolos HaChayis, but Sokosov, it's Lahachiyas es a Guf. Right, the Alter Rebbe in Mevayim Perek Mem Tes in Tanya, that the Ora Seiviv is the Ika HaChayis, even though it's moved up. Mikol HaOilamus and Mikol HaNivroim, Avasokosov, it's the Ika HaChayis, because it is already Shayat to the Pnimi, Mi'amakiv Nimshecha HaPnimi Azu. The same thing. The Klolos HaChayis is a Madrega already in Chayis Lahachis as a Guf. He said, V'zeh inyan anashimo. Well, that's the inyan from breath. Shehu hoiroas hachayis. Like we said before, that's shaykh in the choitem. Because that's the etzem hachayis. And if that's still begoloi by the mensch, then we're mechuyot to be mefaker to gal. Because kulei hai v'ulai will be able to be mamshi from that klolos hachayis back into the chayis ha-proteus. As long as that's still there, begoloi in the Evrei Guf. Where do we see that? Through the choitem. I know, says that's a sign that the chayis is still there. And if it's in that madrega, feel how it's shy to the class hakloli is, that we still have to be mefaker to gal, because yesh tikva that the chayis haklolis will be nimshach shuv into the protim. The kashem shachayis shebelei, who b'chidas defika hainu rotze v'shoiv. We're going to talk about that further along. Well, it's well known that the infant defika de libo, that means the beat of the heart. Yeah, well, that comes out in the blood also, the union of, how do you call it? The defika, what's it called? The pulse. Yeah, the pulse, that the blood works like in a rhythmic beating, but that's called defik. And that's the union of defika delibo, or he says that the union from defika from the lave, it becomes mamela, the union in the veins and in the what do you call it, the arteries, it becomes the union from defiko, or that's the union of rotzeva shoy. As well known that the chayas in the lave is dafki v'oivin shel rotzeva shoy. That's the beating and the how do you call it, the expansion and then the retraction of the heart. That the heart expands and then it retracts. Bamila, that's indicatory of the chayas shebelev, and it's mavur the tamal zeh v'ayim mashi is b'mochi macher v'ayim mashi is boel lekamon. Well, the tamal poshet b'zeh kemavur ba'abi makemis that the chayas hanishoma is sof kosov. Yeah, like we said earlier, it has kain shaychus to the inyan aguf, klaunis. So I feel in the inyan from the ha'ora, in order that the ha'ora should be nimshach into the guf, then it has to be dafkin and even for rotzeva, shoy kilo harikot hamshocha v'istalchus the whole time. Mitzad the header hayichoilis of the feel the ha'oras hanishoma to be mamish mislabish in the evarim, and therefore it's what we call motiv aloi motiv b'shorash ha'inyonim al pi kabbalah. It reaches and retracts, reaches and retracts. But that's the only way it can really be misyashiv in the Evrei Guf. Well, that's even rotzeva shoiv, and that's even from defiko, the liba, or defika stam is the pulse. That's the tam. והוא החי שבו בחידוס פנימי בעברי הגוף, שזהו מהלב, the liba poly לכל shayfin that comes from the heart, because the heart divides up literally, or how do you call it, distributes the chayas l'kol shayfin. Shayfin means like to all sides or kalim. Yeah. And therefore, the lave pumps it out, yeah, and it also does it in even from rotzeva v'shoy. That even the blood is also in even from kilo hamshocha v'stalchus. It goes out in the environment, comes back into the lave, and we see that the lave works also by even because that's all the time retracting and then expanding, giving blood, receiving it. Yeah, all of those inyanim indicate the inyan from rotzeva v'shoy, and it's all different levels in the gilir the chayas, and on each of those levels the chayas remains ayin in rukni, and the guf remains ayin in gashmi. The dam is ayin in gashmi. Yeah, therefore, it has to always be in an even from rotzeva v'shoy. But that's one of the biurim in Rotzev V'Shoiv, that two inyonim which are be'etzem mahusam, ein areich, or einam shayochim, l'zeh l'zeh klal, they function, and their ischabes is through Rotzev V'Shoiv. He said, the highest mi'ah moyach, he said, the highest from the moyach, bo b'leiv b'dam sheboy. Now the highest from the moyach comes into the heart, through the inyan of the dam. V'halev shoylech hadam im hachayes l'chol ha'evorim, but zehu hachayes ha'pnimi, zehu hachayes pnimi. So we could say that we could suggest that with that lashon shezehu hachayes pnimi, maybe he means with that. I'm tempted to say that maybe the Rebbe means with that not just hachayes ha'pnimi, meaning the chayes which is mislabish in the guf. But he said that what the moyach is bo b'leiv b'dam sheboy, b'leiv sholech adam im hachayes l'chol ha'evorim. Maybe he means that that's coming from the leiv, and Kamavu in Tanya, what the Alter Rebbe says, that the leiv sends into the heart b'chol ha'yamini sheboy. And even though he says over there that chol ha'yamini ain't boy dam, of its mavur and all of Meforshi Tanya, that there is really dam in the chol ha'yamini, but it's not the type of dam that's in the chol ha'shmole. It's a much edler, a much higher, and more, what they call it, dachistic kli than what the dam shebechol ha'shmole. And I found maybe it could be that what the remez is, that what the moyach sends down into the heart, sends it down into the heart, el adam shaboy, and from there it goes out into all the ivorim, meaning that the ikash por from the moyach is not in the chol ha'shmoli, because the chol ha'shmoli is where the mishkan of the nefesh habam is, what you might call the chayas ha'chumri is. And here we're talking about that the moyach sholeach dam el haleiv is another inyan, but that means the ashpur the moyach into the chol ha'yamini, and from the chol ha'yamini it goes out into the kol ha'evorim, and he says uchayas ha'pnimi. Now it could be that I'm only saying b'derech hefsek. I haven't been machlit. I didn't have time to really be mishashiv. But what I really think about that. But it could be that the pshat is that you have in the chayes shebeguf, you have also a trace of the ashpor of the moyach. I feel in the chayes which is nimshuk into the evorim from the leiv, you have a trace of the moyach, and that's one of the inyonim that's a ruchnisdike and dachasdike chayes. In other words, I mentioned he lives with the type of chayes which goes from the moyach into the heart, and he puts a lot of that into the blood, then he lives in a more, that he called chayes dike, pnimis dike, kedusha dike, oifen. Yeah, I mean, a dugma absolutely mufla for b'derech ha'gzoma. From that we find that the Tzemach Tzedek said about the Mittler Rebbe, that if you would cut his finger, it wouldn't go down, it would only go the from Chassidus. In other words, that his dam was so bottled to the Indian of the Ashpor Samoyach that his dam was the moyach. I mean, whatever he had in the moyach, that was his dam. I mean, sorry, whatever he had in dam, that was, whatever he had in moyach, that was his dam. Yeah, that's the Nakuda. Whatever goes down from the moyach into that. I feel we'll touch a even portion. I would just say that whatever the moyach manages to send to the leiv, well, that's not already shot to the etzem hamshocha samoyach, that's already the infant hamshocha pnimius, and that's already got to do with the chayes pnimius. But actually, we see that the moyach does have a certain chitzenius dika hamshocha, which is shot to the chayas pnimi. So I mean, ein nezik kol kach lefaris, that it also means in them gufa a higher level in the chayas pnimi. That's already how the moyach and the leiv have a certain shaykhs. that ultimately is being the moyach also got a shaykhs with the chayes pnimi, whether it be an oven like we said, or whether it be in a more poshut oven, also because if there is a kesher. And he said that's not the emes hashpor samoichin. The emes hashpor samoichin is dafke from the chaytem, and he said that's also an oven neshima. Yeah, and therefore, how do they test the guy? Over there, they got a guy laying under a pile of stones. How are they supposed to know? It's put in prison. They put a little something near his nose and see if it moves. Or they got, because it's also rotzei v'shoiv. As a well-known, the breath through the nose is also not even of rotzei v'shoiv. נשימה רוצה ושאיב לפי שהוא גם כן החי שבו בהסגלס יהיה להחייס רק שזהו החייס כלולי מוקר החייס דר פנימי. So here the Rebbe says it more openly, like we touched before, that Kemavur in True Sheikh Siddur noisef of what's written over there in Tanya, that there's a chayas a kloli, how it is in the moyach, yeah, and then there's chayas kloli, boifen kloli. Chayas kloli is al dervidin from seiva venma mamali, and that's what a man feels himself to be alive, boifen kloli. In other words, he's alive all at one go, b'chole evarim shalei, and that haragosha and that awareness of the chayas b'chole evarim b'basachas. Well, that's the inin of the chayas hakloli, and that's a mokir from whence the chayas are proti, even though that's also got a kloli in the moyak, like we pointed out. That's the inin from Naran, a kloli how it is in moyak. Well, that's nimshu from that chayas hakloli. It's kemuva barichas in Toshin, in Reish Samach Gimel, in the famous Hemshech, Reish Samach Gimel, and brought down in Toshin Ches Barichas, the famous beer over there in the Maimonim of Tishrei, in Toshin Ches, the inyan from Chayas Klolius and Chayas Protius.
But what the Rab said is that the Chayas Klolius, the person's aware that he's alive. It seems like there's a level of Chayas that's beyond being aware of. A person's alive even if he's not aware of it.
If what?
The Rab said Chayas Kali is being aware that one's alive.
Yeah.
But we're talking about levels of Chayas that, when we talk about Chayas Makipi, there could be Chayas that a person is not aware of himself B'chalal.
No, well, for what? We're talking about a Maki which is Shaykh al-Apnimi. It's a Mokir to the Inin Apnimi. And that the whole inyan from chayes is dafke bar gosha. You can't talk about a chayes which is not bar gosha. Every inyan from chayes is dafke the awareness of the kelim that they're alive. That's what we mean by chayes. If I mean chayes klolius means when you feel hakol b'basachas. You don't feel hamshochas protius in eivorim protim, but you feel the whole thing mamish b'basachas. For example, when you're working on a teisavas and you want to bring that into seichel, then you feel there's a certain amshocha from l'mayla mi'amoichin into the moichin, and then from the moichin down into a lower level of moichin, and eventually it comes out into bina kipshuta v'chulu. And then you work, if you learned that in Inyan and Siddur, then you work in davening to bring it down into a Inyan for midah. So then we see and we feel and we're aware of the different levels of the nefesh, how they must peer into the kelim. And then there's another inyan in chayes, what we, for example, when a mensch wakes up in the morning and they spring to raise from bed, he feels, he's alive, that's about all he knows. And that's why you have to have the whole Seder Avodah every day to be niknas once again, b'teich ribui hakelim. But the etzim meaning that a mensch feels he's alive, b'basachas, well, that's at chayes klolius. That's a inyan makifi b'basachas, which is nimshach miklolius hanefesh, and it's not even what's written over there in Tanya in Non Aleph. It's not the inyan from Chayas Klolius what he talks about over there. That's what he in the Naran, as we pointed out before. You follow? And that's the difference between them, and that's why he says that this is nimshach, albeit barotzei v'shoiv, because it's also got some inyan to do with the inyan from Chayas, but it's a different type of Chayas. A Chayas Kloli. And it's only a mokir to that inyan from the chayes pnim. V'alkein kol zman, kol zman she'esh ruach chayim bi'apov. Yeah, what the Gemara brings over to the pasuk, Kol asher ruach chayim bi'apov, which is written by the Mabul. Yeah. As long as there's a ruach chayim bi'apov, the ayin shaloi nishtalik legamrei be'etzem hanefesh mamish, ayecholim lahachzir lahamshik begilui. Now, why does it hasn't been nistalik in the etzem hanefesh mamish? Why hasn't it been withdrawn into the etzem hanefesh mamish? Because it's already a certain gilui from the nefesh. And that's the Indian from Makif to Yoshar. It's already a gilui from the etzem, but it's shot to the Indian from Lahachiyas, but it's Lahachiyas Hakol Babasachas. Amamir, therefore, said the Rebbe, it's an Indian of hope, if there's still a trace. Bi'apov, it could be that it's only that. And Nafil Pikain, that since that's a mokir to the Chayas Hakol, then yesh tikva that we can be mamshichet. Therefore, we have to be mafakir to go. So therefore, he said that's the Indian of Shalei Nistalik, Lagamri, but Etzem HaNefesh Mamish Yechelim Lahachzir or Lahamshichoi Begiloi. And that's what we see, that we can be mamshik that through the Indian from Reach. That's what we saw earlier, that the Indian from Reach can be mamshik that Makiv. And that's what we were talking about before, that the Keteras, being the Indian from Reach, is shaykh to a Makiv, but a Makiv a shaykh ala Pnimi. Now we're going to say that the Indian from Yom Kippurim is another Gerah. That's a Indian from Amakiv, which is not Shaykh al Pnimi. This is Davke Alidei Tshuva. Davke the Azoza Atzmiyas. In the Etzem, then he can be Mamshik that Indian. Omnam, he says, Nekev Hashmoli Hu Chayin De Chayin. Shezehu Mi Etzem HaNishama Mamish, meaning beyond the Kloliyim, beyond any Gilui Lahachyois HaNefesh. No, what that? Be'etzem Eish Kashrus. Bechinas Atzmius HaMoichin, Ukemoi Ashpoa Atzmius Me'etzem HaMoichin, Shenimshu B'zeh Atzmius HaNishama. Yeah, like we saw the Indian, the Ashpoa Satipo. Yeah, the Mamish, so much is Nimshut the Etzem, that Yofi Koyach Ben, Mi Koyach Av, can even be from the Etzem Yofi of the Ben, is that Gufa is from the Av. So here we see then that the Chayin is a Gilui, Mamish from Etzem HaNefesh, and in the Etzem HaNefesh Gufa, it's a Gilui from the Etzem Elikus, as you might say, which is Makasha Nefesh mit Guf. In other words, the Etzem Koyach, the Etzem, well, we might even call it the Etzem HaYechoiles of Etzem Elikus to be Mechaber, the Neshama Midde Guf, or that's the Indian of Chayin the Chayin, and that's similar to that Indian of the Moyak giving forth the Indian Vashpos Tipa, of course, Achmiyas. Who Benekev Ashmole Davke. That's Davke in the left Nekev. Dahainu Mashanimshech Alidei Oyer Choiza Davke.
There are three partners in an Adam. We said there are three partners in an Adam.
Three panels?
Partners. The father, the mother, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu. The Etzem HaChayis of the child, the Chorah, comes not from the Tipa. The Gemara says that the father and the mother give in Yonim of the Guf. They give the Loiven Shebeguf and the Odom Shebeguf. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu knows them by Neshama. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about that how does the Neshama, which is Etzem Elikus, how does it be mischaber with the Dova Gashmi like Loiven Ba'odom and all those in Yonim. So we say that that's a Koyach Atzmi of the Eibishter himself. Who knows him by Neshama, and therefore it's Mavur and Tzidus, he's not just really a Shultiv, he's really the whole Mechut. So therefore, why do we say that they're called Shutafim? So it's brought down the appearance, is it because they have Bechira? That's the only thing that makes them Shutafim. If they hadn't had the Bechira to be Meshyachid, then it wouldn't be the whole Inyan. The Ik is already Eibishter. Okay? That's the view of it all. Okay, so we'll